and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and I thought we'd squeeze in one more video, even though it's super late before the deadline, just to answer some of your final questions and dilemmas ahead of the big deadline. I know you guys are very excited about FPL. If you have been enjoying the pre-season content, please do drop a like. Do subscribe if you're new around here as well. This will be the final pre-season video, but we'll be doing some streams building up to the deadline as well, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. But let's have a look at some of these frequently asked questions. Okay, so first of all, a question a lot of people have been asking is James versus Chilwell. Which is the best Chelsea defender to go for? Obviously, we've got a new Pochettino system in place, which hopefully means Chelsea are going to be a little bit better this season. And obviously, James and Chilwell in the past have both been able to score those really big FPL scores, scoring goals as well as getting some assists. And you can see from the data on screen right now that both of these players are capable of getting attacking returns, which is really nice. So James actually looks a little bit better in terms of those kind of creative stats here from last season. These are all stats from last season, by the way, guys, and I got them all from Fantasy Football Hub. So if you do want to check out the Fantasy Football Hub Opta Stats tool, which is super useful, please do go check that out in the description. But we've used that, we'll use their numbers, stats per 90, because I think that's fair, because both of these players did have a bit of a turbulent season, I guess, with injuries and rotation and stuff like that. They both should be nailed on in the new season whenever they are fit and available. But yeah, it does look like James is a bit better creatively, but Chilwell actually looks a bit better in terms of attack from these numbers. We can see that he takes more shots inside the box, gets into some more dangerous areas, and therefore generates a little bit more XG. So off last season, it's kind of even-ish. James is obviously better creatively, Chilwell better in scoring goals, but I think in the new season with a new manager and a new system, things are actually going to be a little bit different. So you may have seen this graphic from a video I posted a couple of days ago outlining all of the predicted lineups and systems and set piece takers of all 20 Premier League clubs. If you haven't watched that already, do definitely recommend you go and check that out to see how other clubs will be lining up. But what we've seen in the new Pochettino system is Chilwell is actually far more advanced than James. James actually tucking in a lot of the time and being more of a right centre-back, with Chilwell given lots more freedom to go up much further up the pitch, playing as more of a left winger. So he's going to be in the far more dangerous positions, and therefore I do think Chilwell edges it for me because he's going to be in such more attacking areas. Chilwell obviously is also on corners as well, taking a lot of corners. Even with James on the pitch, Chilwell is taking corners from both sides. So lots of corners for Chilwell. James is going to be on possibly some free kicks, and penalties is a little bit up in the air right now. Chelsea fans seem to disagree on who's going to be the next penalty taker. It could be James, it could be Jackson, but it could also be Enzo with Nkunku out. So I feel like this is how Chelsea are going to line up. Chilwell far more advanced. James could be on penalties, but it's not guaranteed. So I do feel like from open play, Chilwell is going to dominate James, and I feel like Chilwell is going to be fairly nailed on ahead of Cucurella. And I think James is just as much rotation risk on the other side with Malo Gusto. So I would be going for Chilwell personally, though there is a chance James could be on penalties. A small chance, but a chance nonetheless. So Chilwell is the answer for me. And before we answer any more questions, just a quick word from a sponsor today. The Premier League season is finally about to kick off, so if you're looking for the top selection to access the football wherever you are in the world, then how about our mates over at Surfshark, a VPN service that also helps to keep your identity safe online. It's basically like installing Andre Onana to your PC or mobile phone. Surfshark also allows you to browse the internet as if you were in a different country. If you don't have access to certain football channels and networks in your country, no problem, set your location to somewhere else using Surfshark and you can now access it. Maybe you want to watch Match of the Day or Sky Go from outside of the UK and it's not working, or you're getting that annoying "this content is unavailable in your country" message. Just because you're playing away from home doesn't mean your internet needs to be. And here's another feature. If you've watched all of the best series on Netflix and want to unlock all the content on USA Netflix, for example, you can easily do so. You can switch countries faster than you can switch your captain's armband to Erling Haaland each week. Protect your identity, be safe online, and access Premier League content wherever you are, and you can now get 3 months extra for free. Just use promo code FPL Mate, all one word, to get this offer, or you can simply click the link in my description. It really helps support the channel and you get a great service for a heavily discounted price, and if you somehow don't like it, there's also a 30-day money back guarantee. So unlike in FPL, everybody wins. All right, here's one of the big questions, guys. The best 6.5 million midfielder. Lots of people toying with this one, and no one seems to be able to agree. So what I've got for you guys is some stats per start from last season of the top most popular 6.5 million midfielders, and you can see Solly March leads the line here. Caldo Mitoma coming in second, and Brian Mbeumo coming in third. But I would like to say, even though some of these players kind of are slightly lower than you might expect, you probably expected Mbeumo to be a bit higher, maybe Eze a bit higher. That's because in the new season, both of these players are going to be on penalties, and for the majority of last season, neither Mbeumo or Eze were on penalties. So I do think that is going to impact them going into this new season, and maybe that kind of increases their appeal. But certainly last season, the Brighton guys were the best, kind of producing the best output, I guess. So those are the guys with the best stats. Mudryk, pretty low numbers, but some people thinking that maybe he could do a little bit better, improve upon his first half season at Chelsea. And Bernardo, I'm afraid it looks like he's not really the one, even if he does start for Man City, and he is obviously going to get rotated in that team, so he's going to be a rotation risk. But even when he does play, his numbers are just not that good. So compared to some of the other 6.5s, I really would be looking at anyone other than Bernardo, even though I know a few of you guys do fancy him. But I do have my own preference of the order of 6.5 million midfielders, ignoring the stats. So this is the objective page. Now time for my personal opinion. So, controversial, but my favourite 6.5 million midfielder is to not go for a 6.5 million midfielder at all. I would try, if possible, to spend a little bit more money on the 7 or 7.5 million midfielders instead, because if you can't decide on any 6.5 million midfielder, if none of them are really standing out to you massively, then maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't be going for one at all. If it's just a case of you love them all, then maybe that's a little bit different. But if none of them are really, really convincing you, and you have your doubts about all of them, then a 7 or 7.5 million midfielder instead of them might actually be the play. And just forget about 6.5 million midfielders for now. You can always downgrade your 7 or 7.5 million midfielder down to a 6.5 at a later stage. You can definitely do that very, very easily, so that's not going to be too much of an issue. But out of the actual 6.5 million midfielders, Mbeumo is my favourite. Penalties, great fixtures, nailed. I feel like he is the most reliable pick. I know he is flagged with an injury on FPL right now, which is kind of hindering his ownership, and a lot of people are put off by that Dorito of death next to his name in the FPL app. But he has been in full training all week, so I really, really expect he is going to be fine to play at the weekend. Eze I like as well. High upside talisman, mixed fixtures, which is a bit of an off-putting thing, but he is on all set pieces as well, so that's going to be nice. So Mbeumo, Eze, 2 penalty takers, which is very, very nice, and other set pieces going to be available as well. Mitoma I like. He's probably the safest pick. If you just want to go with the crowd, pick the same players that everyone else is picking, then it's very, very easy to just kind of play a little bit safe there and go for him if you're unsure. Diaby, I think it's a really interesting pick. Playing as a second striker in a top team. We didn't put him on the first page because obviously he didn't play in the Premier League last year, but he's a really good player. He did really well in the Bundesliga, France international as well. Fixtures are a little bit mixed, but he will be playing as a second striker alongside Ollie Watkins, so could be really, really interesting if you're brave enough to go for him. So definitely like that pick as well. And Solly March has the best numbers, great opening fixtures. He is a small minutes risk, and there could be some rotation at some point. I do worry a little bit about the Brighton guys with the bad fixtures from game week 4 onwards, that you might have to actually be forced to sell these players. But aside from that, yeah, I like Mitoma, I like March as well, and all of these 6.5 million midfielders I've got on screen right now, I love them all. I love them all. I prefer the 7s and the 7.5s, but I love all of these 6.5s as well. So I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think all of the guys I've got on screen right now are great picks, so go for them. Okay, what if Kane leaves? And it looks kind of likely at this point. He might be going for his medical tomorrow at Bayern Munich. This is quite crazy. He could be leaving the club imminently. And in fact, I probably bet that he would be. So right now, Kane is absolutely a non-option in FPL. If you have him in your team, remove him. It really looks like he is going to Bayern now. That looks like a deal has been agreed. Personal terms have been agreed. It's just a case of passing a medical and he'll be good to go. So what's going to happen now? That's going to be difficult. Is Richarlison going to come in as the central striker? Well, there are some rumours that Richarlison is currently carrying a knock, so will not be available for game week 1. So that's going to cause another problem. We can't go for Richarlison necessarily now, even though he might look like a good pick if he was available. But I guess let's wait and see on that one. In that case, who is going to be the central striker? Possibly Dane Scarlett, the young guy. Possibly Son coming into centre with Manor Solomon going into the left-hand side of this attack. It's difficult to say who's going to be playing as striker, so I would be probably looking to avoid it. But one thing I should say is that with Kane leaving, there is some strong indication from inside the club, rumours coming from inside sources in the club, that Maddison is going to be the penalty taker when Kane leaves. Now, we thought it might be Richarlison, could be Son, but actually it looks more likely it's going to be Maddison now. So actually, with Kane leaving, I know that sounds like that would be a bad thing for Maddison. Definitely understand that. But Maddison actually could benefit from this. If he gets penalties, he could really benefit from this. Of course, Maddison was on free kicks and corners as well in pre-season. So overall, Maddison looks like the one. Yeah, Maddison, like genuinely, if Kane leaves, I would still be backing Maddison as a pick. Elsewhere, probably would not be looking at any other players other than Udogie. Maybe looks pretty good as a left wing back there. So yeah, Maddison's still a great pick. Richarlison a risk. Aside from that, probably would be avoiding most Spurs players to start the season. Right, best 4.5 million defender, and we have got the Spurs player that I just mentioned, and I've got these just in order of my favourites. I like Chilwell the best, I like Udogie the second best. The reasons why I like these guys the most, though, is because what I want from a 4.5 defender, personally, is a guy who's going to sit first on my bench and come in for probably a Stupinian when a Stupinian's fixtures start looking a little bit worse, or when Gabriel plays against Manchester United, for example. I want someone who can come in and cover my starting players for those for just a couple of games here and there. And I really, if you're not going to, be playing this 4.5 million defender at all, then I don't really see the point in going for one. You may as well just go for a 4 million defender on your bench. So yeah, if I'm looking for a 4.5 million defender, I'm looking first of all, am I going to play this player? When am I going to play this player? And what game weeks do I need my 4.5 million defender to have good fixtures? And Chilwell and Udogie from game week 3, when kind of Brighton's fixtures start to look a little bit worse, they have really nice fixtures. So straight away, they stand out to me as really good picks. If you're looking to start a 4.5 million defender every single week, then I would be looking further down the line here. Henry, Botman, Konsa, and Anderson would be my other picks. Henry might be injured, potentially. Only a small injury, though, and he should be back very, very quickly, maybe game week 2. And he has good fixtures, and he's pretty attacking. So I do like Henry. Botman, I think he's not going to get you attacking returns, but he plays for a great defence. Konsa is actually my pick of the Aston Villa defenders at this point. His underlying numbers are actually just as good as Tyrone Mings, but the difference is Konsa, I think, is a little bit more nailed because he's more crucial to the way that Aston Villa are looking to line up in the new season. And also, another interesting point, Mings gets a lot of yellow cards. We're expecting more yellow cards this season as well, and Konsa doesn't really get nearly as many yellow cards as Mings, so therefore maybe Konsa could actually genuinely be a better pick than Mings this season. So a little bit of a differential there to maybe think about. And Anderson rotates really nicely with an Aston Villa defender. Anderson carries the most attacking threat of any Crystal Palace defender as well. So if you fancy going on a Crystal Palace defender, Anderson would be my guy. In terms of the best bench options, I've narrowed it down quite a lot at this stage. I've had a good think about this one. So in terms of goalkeepers, the 4 million goalkeepers, we were just looking at the lowest possible price bench fodder players. Turner is the one. And I don't think there is a reason to go for anyone else in the whole Premier League other than Turner. Turner is pretty much a must-have, in my opinion. There's no reason to go for any other 4 million goalkeeper. So get Turner in your team. Don't even think about it. He's the only 4 million goalkeeper who is likely to start games in the new season. Areola is looking very unlikely to start. All of the other 4 million goalkeepers, super, super unlikely to start. Turner will be first choice for Nottingham Forest to start the season off. They were looking to get Henderson in as well, Nottingham Forest, but actually looks like that might be less likely to happen now that we have had an injury to Tom Heaton and Manchester United. So maybe Henderson actually is going to be staying at United for a bit longer. So are Nottingham Forest going to be able to get another goalkeeper to kind of replace Turner already? Maybe, I don't know. But right now, Turner is the best option, so no reason to not go for him. Kabore, Baldock, and Bayer I like for defenders. Kabore pretty attacking. Baldock playing in an attacking position. I like Kabore, I think, a little bit more than Baldock. Bayer, I actually like the most of the three, but Bayer's fixtures are so bad, doesn't even have a fixture in Game Week 2, that I don't think he's going to be very useful to us at the start of the season. Maybe Bayer can come in during the first wild card, maybe, as our 4 million defender at that point. Midfielders, Nakamba, safe, 2-3 points. Well, probably just 2 points. or maybe even 1 point every single game. You know, at least he gets something. Chukwuemeka, he does take up a Chelsea spot, but it looks like he's going to be playing very regularly whilst Nkunku is out. So that could be really nice to go for an attacking midfielder from Chelsea for only 4.5 million. Could be quite nice if you're looking for a 4.5 mid. And Anderson, Newcastle fans don't seem to think he's going to get too much game time at the start of the season, but he could do technically. So yeah, when he has been playing in pre-season, he's done very well. So let's see what he can produce. Forwards, Osula is actually my favourite at this point. Sheffield United fans do think that Osula is going to be playing very, very regularly whilst they have some other injuries in the forward position. So Osula regularly playing a game time could be very nice. Mubama could get some game time, but West Ham fans think that Antonio and Ings are going to be ahead of Mubama in the pecking order, which kind of makes sense. So yeah, Mubama might not be as good of a pick as you might think, and I do worry a little bit with Mubama is once the season starts, if he's not getting regular game time, people may sell him very quickly, and I can see Mubama dropping down to 4.4 million because a lot of people own him and a lot of people will be selling him if things don't go right. So you could lose a lot of team value with Mubama, which is why he's a little bit more risky than Osula, who's a little bit safer, I think. Best goalkeepers, Edison is actually leading the line here on numbers from last season. Really, really nice numbers. I know he doesn't really get saves, but he looks really good for clean sheets, and he's more nailed on than any Man City defender you can go for, and he's going to be scoring just as many points of them. They're all kind of 6-point ceiling players. The Man City defenders rarely get attacking returns and rarely get bonus points. So, you know, Edison is, for me, just as safe as any 5.5 million Man City defender. So you could easily go for him. Yeah, he's a little bit expensive, but you get regular clean sheet returns. So that's pretty good there. Yeah, I feel like he's underrated as a pick a little bit. Johnston looks like he has the best numbers of all of the 4.5 million goalkeepers there from last season, which is really nice. I've actually got a really good defense in Crystal Palace. They don't concede many chances at all. De Gea I've put on the screen here as well, just because I wanted to just give an idea of how Manchester United fared last season in terms of goals conceded, shots conceded, stuff like that. They don't actually concede that many shots, so maybe save points are going to be difficult to come by in the Manchester United team compared to like a Johnston, who is going to be facing a lot more shots. Still, little tiny bit of rotation risk, but still fairly decent numbers. Leno, expected to concede a lot, but he made a lot of saves. Really overperformed last season. So if you think he's going to continue to overperform, that's fine. And Pickford is another goalkeeper a lot of people are talking about right now. Worst numbers of any of the goalkeepers in this list, but I know a lot of people are kind of looking at the pre-season where Everton played the likes of kind of Wigan and like Bolton and kept clean sheets against them in pre-season. So maybe that's an indication that they're going to keep clean sheets against Arsenal and Manchester City. I don't know. I'm just putting this one out there. Some people fancy Pickford because of the pre-season stuff and maybe kind of speculating that things are going to get better under Sean Dyche. Last season, that didn't happen, but maybe this season it could. I understand it, but it is definitely a speculative pick. At the very least, you are going to get save points from him because he makes a decent amount of saves per game. But yeah, out of the 4.5s, it seems like Johnston has the best numbers. But to be honest, guys, it really does depend on what you're looking for yourself. Different stats are going to be more important to different people. I like the expected goals conceded stat to kind of judge how many clean sheets a player is likely to get across the season. And I like the save stat as well. And I also liked picking a goalkeeper from a team that doesn't score too many goals, because then you're more likely to get bonus points as well, which is what we see from the likes of Johnston there and Leno and Steele as well, to be fair. So let's crack on. But before we do, I probably should say that my favourite goalkeepers are Edison in the 5.5 category, Onana in the 5 category, because I feel like Onana could pick up more points than De Gea just because his distribution is quite good, could be more prone to getting bonus points, even if he doesn't make too many saves. But Johnston at 4.5, I feel like is a really underrated bargain player and allows you to spend a little bit more money elsewhere in the pitch. So Johnson is probably my pick for a 4.5 million goalkeeper, but if you're happy to spend a little bit more, Onana and Edison are definitely options for you as well. Those three would be the ones I'd be most strongly considering. Liverpool players, I've just thrown a bunch of stats on screen. These are probably my favourite Liverpool players. I probably wouldn't consider any Liverpool player outside of these 6. Obviously, Salah is easily the best asset for Liverpool, but he costs a lot of money. And we are going to speak about him a little bit more in just 1 second. Darwin Núñez has great numbers, but he's quite a rotation risk. Not expected to start this first game of the season, but maybe could come in for that Bournemouth game there. Diogo Jota looks really good, but again, we're a little bit worried about his minutes. Gakpo, his numbers are actually not that great, although he's probably the second most nailed on in this Liverpool attack after Salah. His numbers aren't amazing, and he sometimes does play in midfield despite the fact he's listed in FPL as a forward, so not massively keen. Luis Diaz could be a little bit of a punt there as well, but his numbers again last season were not very good, so maybe a sign that he's not the best pick. But certainly Salah, Darwin, Diogo Jota could be getting those big FPL returns, particularly in game week 2, as long as they get enough minutes to justify that. We've got Trent at the bottom of this list as well. Until Liverpool sign a central defensive midfielder, and it looks like Caicedo could be happening very soon, then there's probably going to be a few defensive problems for Liverpool. We've seen that in pre-season. They still look a bit messy in defence. So Trent at 8 million might not be worth the money. I'm not sure I would be wanting to go there straight away, but he could come good when Liverpool get their defensive midfield sorted out. Maybe things could improve a little bit there. But for now, not really feeling Trent. Salah would be a good pick, and the rest of these players here are pretty risky, to be fair. Right, well, should we go for Salah or not? Salah or no Salah? Well, look, this is the way I would try and frame this question. So for me, I would, even if I had Salah in my Game Week 1 team, I would not be looking to captain him in Game Week 2. I still prefer slightly Erling Haaland against Newcastle to Salah against Bournemouth. Now, different people are going to have different opinions on that one. If you want to go for Salah and you want to captain him in Game Week 2, great. That is a good sign that you should be picking him in your Game Week 1 team. It's a good sign that you should have him in your team. If you think going forward in future game weeks that you are going to be captaining Salah here and there, not necessarily every week, but one every 3 or 4 game weeks, and you're going to get good use out of him as a captain, then yeah, again, a good sign that maybe you want to go for him. But here is where things get deep. If you are not planning on captaining Salah very often, or not at all, then you really are just looking at Salah's base points versus any other player. So we don't need to consider, oh, I have the ability to double the value of my Salah. You're playing with a 12.5 million midfielder who you're never going to captain. You're never going to get the full value out of them because you're never captaining them and doubling your points. And I feel like that is a very vital point that is different from previous seasons where we might have been looking to captain Salah fairly regularly. If you're not captaining Salah, what you just need to do is look at Salah and another player and compare it to what you could afford if you did not go for Salah. So, for example, a lot of people going for a combination of Salah and João Pedro. Well, who is going to score more FPL points, in the opening 8 game weeks? Salah and João Pedro or Rashford and Watkins? Now, to me, I would say that Rashford and Watkins, with a little bit of extra money in the bank there as well to upgrade other areas of your pitch, is probably going to score more points in combination than Salah and Pedro. And therefore, I would be leaning towards the Rashford and Watkins side of this column. And I would say, I don't need Salah. I'm not going to captain him. I feel like the other guys, I think if I spread the Salah money out a little bit more, I can improve my team enough that my points I will get in total will outscore Salah and whoever I'm pairing him with. Again, if we're going to downgrade a midfielder, maybe you're going for Salah and Mitoma, or maybe even worse, maybe you have to go for Salah and a 5.5 million midfielder just to make it work, just so you can afford to have Salah. If you're doing that, who's going to score more? Your Salah and Mitoma combo, or a Rashford and Saka? Rashford, Saka, pretty expensive midfielders. If you have Salah in your team, you're probably only going to be able to afford one of these guys. If you want Bruno Fernandes as well, probably not going to be able to afford him. If you want Martinelli as well, probably not going to be able to afford him. So you're going to have to cut out a lot of players who could score a lot of points. So ask yourself this. Who is going to score more points? Salah and Mitoma, for example, or Rashford, Saka, and whatever else you have in the bank to upgrade other areas of your pitch. All of these other players combined will probably outscore the likes of Salah. So for me personally, the answer to this question, to answer you guys, whether you should go for Salah or not, would be entirely down to whether you intend on captaining Salah semi-frequently. If you are going to do it, then I would consider having Salah in my team. If you're actually not going to captain Salah very often, doesn't make sense to go for him. It's different this year to previous seasons because previous seasons you would have been captaining him. This season you are not going to be captaining him, so you are not going to get the full value out of Salah. So hopefully that answers that question. For me, it's a case of no Salah, but for you, if you really want to captain him, maybe you can go for him. Best forwards, I've just put this list in order of my personal favourites. So I like Watkins. I think he is just the most sensible option of them all. I like the fact that he's 8 million as well. So if you do change your mind later down the line, or you want to go for someone else, you want to trade out Watkins, you can afford anyone. You can go for Jackson, you can go for Darwin, you can go for, you know, literally anyone. You can go for Jesus when he becomes available. You can go for Nkunku when he becomes available, even though that's probably going to be in quite some time. You can go for Wilson or Isak when their fixtures look a bit better. So having Watkins, you don't even need to leave any money in the bank, and you will be able to afford any forward you want outside of Erling Haaland going into the future if you change your mind later. So you've got a great flexible pick there. Nicholas Jackson, I think, is an interesting pick. I feel like that's a good one. João Pedro, definitely the best of the cheap guys, but I do want to shout out Wissa as well. Wissa, not too far behind João Pedro in terms of those cheaper forwards, but obviously 0.5 more expensive might rule him out for some of you guys, but I don't want you guys to rule out Wissa. I think he is probably my fourth favourite forward option right now, especially when you take the player price into consideration and what you can do with the money. Darwin, risky, but could do well. High risk, high reward kind of thing there. And Welbeck, another high risk, high reward pick. Very, very short-term player, but expected to start against Luton. And the forwards at Brighton tend to score very, very highly, but it's just impossible to predict who's going to be playing forward at what point. So yeah, it's high risk, high reward. If you fancy taking that risk with a Welbeck, then I don't hate it. Actually, I kind of enjoy it. So yeah, be interested to see if any one of you guys are willing to go for Welbeck as a kind of a differential high risk, high reward forward. Now I want to talk about leaving money in the bank, and I didn't really know what to put as a picture or a graphic for this one. So here's a picture of my cat being a very polite young man. Hopefully that's you enjoyed that one. I don't know. But yeah, should you leave money in the bank? It's a difficult question. I think I'm leaning towards you don't have to, as long as you're playing price points well. So if you've got Ollie Watkins, for example, as your forward slot, you don't need money in the bank to upgrade Watkins, because there's no one to upgrade him to. So you don't need to leave money in the bank to move Watkins to another forward. If you have got a lot of 8 million midfielders, again, you don't really need to leave money in the bank, because you probably can afford to downgrade those 8.5, 9 million midfielders to anyone in the game that you want. So you're probably not going to need that money in the bank to facilitate those transfers. Similar kind of situation in defense, but it's a little bit harder in defense. If you've got a couple of 5.5 million defenders, then I think you're going to be good to go and you won't need to leave money in the bank. But if you're planning on kind of maybe upgrading Estupinian to a Chelsea defender maybe in game week 3 or 4, something like that, then it probably would be wise to leave money in the bank for that purpose. But I would say that as long as you are playing price points well, you don't need to leave money in the bank. If things are a little bit more tricky and you've got players at bad price points like João Pedro, or maybe you've got some 4.5 million defenders, or maybe you've got a 5.5 million midfielder or something like that, or you've got Nicholas Jackson and you want to have that ability to move to a Ollie Watkins if if you needed to do that, if Watkins just looked amazing and you really wanted to trade Jackson for Watkins, maybe having money in the bank would be a good idea for that. But if you're kind of in the right price points, you don't really need it, to be fair. So that is my answer of that one. It again, as a lot of these questions go, it depends on your team, how you're set up. And finally, I just thought I would share with you my watch list. So this is a list of 50 players that I have been seriously considering for my FPL team. Anyone who is not listed on this list, I'm not considering. I'm not considering putting them in my FPL team. Well, not seriously considering putting them in at all, really. So, yeah, if you want to just ask, a lot of you guys kind of ask me questions like, what do you think about such and such player? Do you think they're a good pick? Well, if they're on this list, then they are a good enough pick that for me personally, and I know this is just my opinion, but for me personally, I would definitely consider putting them in my team. I like them as a pick. If they're not on this list, there's probably a reason. There's probably going to be various reasons. It's either because there is just a better player at their price point, or in their same team as them, or in the same position. So I don't really see a point in going for them, or I think they're too rotation risk, or I think they're actually just not going to score that many points, or they're risky for another reason. So there could be a variety of reasons why I don't like players who aren't on this list, but all of these players I definitely like. I definitely think you can afford to go for, or I think they're all great picks. So yeah, for me personally, if you're looking to pick a squad of 15, I am personally looking to build a squad of 15 out of this player pool and no one outside it. if you've got other players that aren't listed and you want me to kind of give a reason as to why I don't like them, feel free to drop a comment and I'll try and answer why I don't like those players, because I've gone through all of the players extensively at this point. I've done so much research, so much content on this channel over the last month. So yeah, I feel like I'm fairly in the know about probably near enough all of the FPL assets in the game now, and will have reasons why they're good or bad at this point. So yeah, feel free to ask me a question. I'll try and answer as many as possible tomorrow. But that is going to be it for this very, very long final video. Hopefully I answered all of your final questions. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like. It really does help out the channel. Do subscribe if you're new around here. Check out Surfshark if you haven't done already. Great VPN service. And of course, subscribe to Fantasy Football Hub whilst you can still get the 50% off deal. Link is in the description. You're running out of time. Get involved. It is such a good service and you do not want to miss out on that bargain deal. But aside from that, guys, check out some of the other content. There's probably going to be a video linked there. So if you want to check that out, you can, and we'll be doing some streams on Friday today as well. So there we go, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Once again, final video of the preseason. The hard work is done. I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.